The family of the late former minister and ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa, says he showed no signs of distress ahead of his sudden death. They also say it's simply too early to conclude that he may have died by suicide. His death still under investigation, and the family is awaiting post-mortem results. Newzroom Afrika correspondent Simon Martz has been following the story and developments closely and joins us now live from the French capital. Simon, good morning. We played again for our viewers that interview that you had with Sifiso Buthelezi, the brother-in-law of Nathi Mthethwa. We'll talk about repatriation, autopsy and the investigation. But I think what was really poignant in that interview was they are adamant that this could not have been something related to a depressive state of mind. Sifiso Buthelezi telling you about the intimacy of their relationship, that had something gone wrong, it is most likely that Mthethwa would have spoken to him directly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are conflicting emotions, as you can understand, Iman. I mean, I spent a lot of time yesterday at the ambassador's residence and spent a lot of time after talking to Dr. Buthelezi, talking off camera with Philisiwe Buthelezi Mthethwa, the ambassador's wife, who told me last night that she is 50-50, as she put it, over whether this was a simple act of suicide. And I said to her, are you suggesting that there might have been someone else in the hotel, that, you know, that he might have been pushed out of the window? That is not what she is suggesting. She is, however, wondering what other aspects of life, what pressures may have been on him that she and Dr. Buthelezi, her brother, were unaware of, that could possibly have led to him coming to this hotel and deciding to throw himself out of that 22nd story window. Now, the family is hoping that in the hours ahead today, they will be able to achieve what they were unable to secure yesterday. The death certificate, getting that piece of paper from the French authorities, is vitally important, because until they get it, they can't formally begin the process in concert with the embassy here of making arrangements for the repatriation of the body. And, you know, again, she was explaining to me that there are so many procedures here. Every country, of course, has its own different bureaucratic procedures about releasing death certificates. And as she and Dr. Buthelezi have repeatedly said over the last 48 hours, they've never done this before. The embassy has never had to do this before. Everyone is learning as they go. It was an extraordinary scene, I have to say, at the ambassador's residence last night. People arriving to pay their respects to Mrs. Buthelezi Mthethwa, including, as you will have seen on Newzroom Afrika last night, Yvonne Chaka Chaka, who was here because on Tuesday there was supposed to be a large meeting at the embassy that she was going to play a key role in, relating to the future of global health following the Trump administration's decision in the United States to eviscerate the Agency for International Development. And she was telling me last night that, you know, more than 100 people were expected to descend on the embassy on Tuesday for a meeting that the ambassador was going to lead, that she had been planning with the ambassador for many months, aimed at trying to persuade the French President Emmanuel Macron to fill the void, partly, that has been left given the United States withdrawal from the international humanitarian assistance playing field. Of course, that event never happened, but Yvonne Chaka Chaka here, still in Paris, very much providing comfort to the family and also wanting to emphasize the ambassador's commitment, even in those hours leading up to his death, to that global health summit that was due to take place at the White House, but of course never occurred. The other issue that I asked the ambassador's wife about is whether the tragedy that took place at this hotel sometime between Monday night and Tuesday morning, we still don't know the timing, the precise timing of the ambassador's death, whether it had in any way changed her relationship with Paris. Mrs. Buthelezi Mthethwa is someone who has been traveling and who has lived in Paris on several occasions during her life, all the way back to her student days when she studied here at the Sorbonne. And both she and her late husband were absolutely enamored with Paris, with the French way of life. Their wedding in Franschhoek was a France-themed wedding. She told me that the proposal took place here in Paris. And she says that no, her relationship with Paris will not be diminished by these events. It will simply be changed. She said, I'm always going to return now to this city because I'll have another reason to return here, and that is to honor the memory of her late husband, who, of course, passed away here at this very hotel, the Hyatt Regency Paris Étoile, for reasons the family still does not understand. They don't understand why he booked rooms in this hotel. They're still trying to piece together the final days and hours of his life. They point to only last weekend when he played a pivotal role at ceremonies honoring the contribution of South African troops to the Battle of the Somme in World War I. They said that he was very enthused about that event. So they are still trying to understand what it was that led him to take his own life and whether there were other pressures involved. They insist the Madlanga Commission was not one of them that may have played a role in persuading him to take this tragic action that, of course, has dominated the news since we all learnt about it in the early hours of Tuesday.
There certainly is a lot there, Simon, which does fuel this idea of conflicting messages or various possibilities that might have led to his ultimate demise. I want to go back to the visuals we're sharing with our viewers, ostensibly of a hotel room. Not sure if it's the one or one that's similar to the one that he would have stayed in. We heard Safisa also say that the investigations seem to be continuing. So as you piece together where those investigations are right now, with the anticipated release of the body potentially by next week, with it returning to South Africa as the family hopes by Wednesday, where are we in the investigation and what more do we know about the scene of the tragedy?
Yeah, just to be clear about these visuals, they are not of the room that he checked into, they are of a room, and all the rooms have very similar setups with regard to the windows, a thin sliver of window that you can open, and he then took action, according to police, to force that window open more widely so that he could then exit the room from the 22nd floor. The family is very much hoping that the formalities are going to be wrapped up very soon. That will then allow them to remove Ambassador Mthethwa's remains from the government mortuary where they are currently being stored. That's so the police and investigators can continue finalizing the autopsy and the post-mortem. They get the death certificate, they can remove the remains from a government mortuary and put it into a private mortuary that they, the family, are selecting here in Paris. After that, the formal processes will be over, they believe, and they will then be given clearance by the French authorities to begin the process of repatriation. Dr. Buthelezi was saying last night that he expects all of the final processes could be wrapped up by Monday or Tuesday, possibly earlier. He told me that he thought that the French officials were being cautious and conservative about how long it might take for those investigations to wrap up. So they are clearly hoping that they will be able to fly the ambassador's remains home to South Africa by the middle of next week, possibly earlier. The investigation itself still very much, all the signs are inexorably leading to the conclusion that the ambassador took his own life. That, of course, also based on the text messages that Philisiwe Buthelezi Mthethwa received from her husband, and also that she told me last night that Dr. Buthelezi had also received. I wasn't aware of this until last evening, but she said that there was one text message that was sent to Dr. Buthelezi himself, in which the ambassador said that he was intending to take his own life. So the conclusion of this investigation, I think, is clear, but with the ambassador's widow saying last night she's still 50-50 on whether you can actually define this in any kind of classic terms as a suicide, whether there were other factors and other actors involved who might have taken him to a place mentally where he decided to end his own life. That is where the real confusion lies, and there are still uncertainties about some aspects of the investigation, particularly where cell phones were recovered. It's unclear whether they were recovered here at the hotel. There were reports earlier in the week that one cell phone might have been recovered in the Bois de Boulogne, which is a big park not far from this hotel. They're also still trying to seek some clarity on that. I do think it's important to underscore that they have insisted that the police investigation has been absolutely respectful, sensitive to the emotions that the family, and particularly Mrs. Buthelezi Mthethwa, are going through. And they also say they are grateful to the French authorities for everything that they have done since the ambassador's wife reported his disappearance on Monday evening. She was telling me last night that when French police descended on the residence, because they initially decided to search the residence, which is a big building here in Paris, they even brought sniffer dogs with them that went into every room and the garage of the residence in an effort to try and trace the ambassador, which of course was not successful because he was here at the Hyatt in the center of the city.